Hello, my name is Kinshasa Nicholas, and I'm in the ED SE 64002 assessment course. This is my video response to the discussion board about the Harder Than Dickens assessment article. So, my general feeling on assessments is that assessments are a great tool, a great measurement tool to find out where your students are at cognitively and how they are performing in the classroom. However, I don't believe that assessments should be the only form of measurement. And I feel that that's what's happened, that we've moved away from other form of measurements and we're only looking at test scores. And as we know, some children do well on tests and some students do not do well on tests. And that doesn't mean that they're not cognitively at a certain level. That doesn't mean that they're not smart kids, quote unquote. It just may mean that they're not great test takers. They can be nervous taking a test. They can be very anxious about testing. Maybe something happened that day at home and they come in. Maybe they didn't have breakfast or a lot of turmoil is going on at home and they come in to take this assessment and they don't do well. And if the teacher is just basing their grade off of the assessment, I don't think that that is a developmentally appropriate way to measure a child's cognitive ability. So I think it should be accumulation of things. So it can be assessments, it can be informal observation, it can be formal observation, it can be portfolios. It should be accumulation of items. That's my opinion. Also, I would say in reading the article, I was very surprised with the Harder Than Dickens article about the amount of work that goes into these standardized tests. So, as the article was discussing, saying that these questions have to be fielded and these tests go through many, many, many hands before they actually arrive at the school for the students to partake in. As here, I'll share with you one quote from the article, from the Harder Than Dickens article to back up what I'm saying. It states here, the difficulty of writing questions that can clear testing many hurdles has typically resulted in a majority of them being dropped, even by those drafted by the most experienced item writers. Also, it says Ohio now administers 400 different forms of its statewide tests in order to field test enough questions to keep its bank of test items stocked. So that is very impressive to me. That shows that, they have to, Ohio, for example, has to have 400 different forms because these questions get rejected so often. So I think that that's important, that the questions need to be clear, they need to be not ambiguous, and they also need not to be biased. And so that was a surprise for me. I didn't know that happened with standardized tests, and that they go through so many drafts and so many changes, and they go through so many hands to make sure that they are fair and equitable and not biased. Also, in the other article, which is the Making Sense Out of Standardized Test Scores article, there was a quote there that was very interesting to me, talking about how now, because of No Child Left Behind and the Common Core, that these standardized tests need to be scored and returned very quickly. And the article says here, the quote from the article says, standardized tests, because they are intended for widespread use, are developed with far more care and cost than is possible in an individual's teacher's classroom. In other words, the people who create the items for such tests attempt to adhere to the same kind of item writing and item improvement precepts you've learned about. The writers of multiple choice items for standardized tests worry, just as you should, about inadvertently supplying students with clues that give away the correct answer. The writers of short answer items for standardized tests try to avoid, just as you should, the inclusion of ambiguous language in their items. So again, this is something new to me that's really stood out to me about the process that they go through with standardized tests in order for them to clear so that these questions are actually present on the exams that our students partake in. So I was very surprised about that, and I enjoyed reading the articles for this week. Thank you.